Welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure today to have one of my executive board members, Dan Hewlin with Fifth Third Bank Merchant Services, as my guest today. Dan has been on our board for 8 years. We usually have 2 3-year terms unless someone in their 6th year gets kicked up to the executive board, which is what happened with Dan. And so Dan, before he progresses through to be chairman, will probably have been on our board 12 years, which is a long time to depend on someone to give of themselves. And our board members do. They come to meetings, they go to special events, they sponsor things. And so it's unusual to have someone that is that committed that will stay on your board for 12 years. And Dan, I thank you for that, because I know it's a big commitment. And you know, Dan's business is unique, I think, to most people, and certainly it was to me. And if we turn the clock back about 10 years ago, maybe shorter than that, credit card fees were not something that we took into consideration when we were budgeting. Not a lot of people paid their membership dues or their sponsorships with credit cards. So that was a small number. That was, most times we didn't even budget. It was so, what we thought was so insignificant. Well, fast forward today, I don't know a number, but I would guess that 60 or 70% of our members are paying with credit cards, and all of a sudden the fees became, I don't want to say exorbitant, but something that we had to pay attention to. So having said that, I wanted to explain to you what, and Dan's going to do a much better job than I did, but explain what the merchant services provides. And so, but before Dan, I want to ask you, before we get into that, what brought you to Martin County?
Back in 2002, my wife Amy and I were about to get married, and we wanted to try to find a house to start living. And we were in Palm Beach County, and Amy was working at Merrill Lynch in Palm Beach, but lived on one end of Okeechobee, and all the houses were much more expensive down there. But it'd take her 45 minutes to get from one end of Okeechobee to the other, and then we finally found a fixer-upper in Stewart, and it took her 45 minutes to get from the Stewart to Palm Beach. So it was a relief there, but we just wanted an opportunity to learn how to fix a house and start a family here, and fell in love. So.
And we're glad you did. And you know, it's great when we get people like you and your family, and obviously moving to Martin County, which is, you know, I always say Martin County is a special place. You either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. And it is a special place, and we have special people here,
Yep.
as you know. So, how long have you been in this particular business?
In the industry, I've been 17 years.
17?
Yep.
How did you get in it? I mean, is it just something that you...
I fell upon it back in the late 90s, not too far after college, and didn't know that the merchants pay a fee to accept the credit cards, obviously foreign to a lot of people, and I was very blessed to get in with a company that really educated me how to understand everything in the back end and how to explain it to the business paying the fee. And you know, just a lot of education in the industry, and a lot of misnomers, a lot of misinformation, so just help guide people through that. It's very fun doing so.
So, obviously, as I just explained, the change, what happened with our budgeting process, what changes have you seen, and do you foresee future changes that,
Yep.
you know, with technology, who knows?
Yeah, technology is a big deal. We're waiting on the crypto. We're the first acquirer to be able to take the U.S. dollar crypto that they have now, the U.S. Digital currency. And so a lot of things are more shifting to digital, but more and more business-to-business incentives to use a credit card with Visa, MasterCard, American Express. So there's the rates aren't as much as people think, but a lot of them don't know, so they pay double what they need to. So there's a lot of education on that point for business-to-business payments, and like with the chamber, almost everybody uses their corporate card, corporate American Express, which have higher interchange costs, and those get increased on sometimes twice a year basis, unless you don't know how to manage those. And so that was the biggest. On the consumer side, though, I see with the buy now, pay later as heavy adopted, where they're even having in the UK, there have some places that you can do buy now, pay later for a meal at a restaurant. And I'm starting to see some of the smaller things where it's deferred payment. So I see the consumer side there. And then also on the consumer side, here you're starting to see a cash discount, non-cash fee, convenience fee, credit card fee, which is illegal in the state of Florida, but it's passed on the highest level to the consumer, and the consumers need to know how to be able to handle that.
What should me as a consumer or any consumer know when they're applying for or considering getting a credit card? What should they know? What should they look for?
Well, for the credit card itself, I help on the receiving side, but the credit cards that hurt the merchants the most are more of a business rewards card. That's the most expensive card, or like a high-end rewards card is going to be a higher cost for the merchant. The ones that won't be at least if they're set up correctly, would be a debit card. Most of the debit cards are under 1%, but some merchants pay 3% for that debit card. Yeah.
So I switched credit cards years ago. I used to use Citibank was my primary. I'm pretty sure it was a Visa. And I used to get cash rewards. I would accumulate, and I remember one time I got 10 $50 cash cards, $500. I had $500 with them. They stopped doing it. They started giving gift cards for restaurants or Home Depot or whatever. So I switched to Bank of America, and they still give cash cards. So why would Citibank stop giving a cash card? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it depends on the classification with Visa, but more than likely that's a base rewards card. It costs about 2.5% to the merchant overall, but they might not be receiving as much interchange on that. What was surprising, though, at least with the prepaid cash card, they're receiving a percentage of interchange that versus just paying it out to a debit card. So they are always competing, trying to give the most cash based, most rewards, as you see with a lot of commercials. And so the higher the rewards program, usually the higher costs that they're collecting from the merchant.
So are you at liberty to tell me and our viewers what you would recommend the best? The best? I don't care whether it's Visa or what to look for. What should we look for?
Yeah, well, you want obviously rewards with no limitations on it. There's a lot of business rewards cards. A lot of you had Lisa the other time that you're talking with South State Bank. There's probably a business rewards card where the business gets a rebate back instead of just the points, because the points can be hard to navigate. It's really on preference. My wife and I have a rewards debit card, and we get to pay $1,000 or $2,000 each year towards our mortgage, and we can do it that way. It just depends on what your focus is.
So do you have credit card and debit card?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So
I have to.
should we have I don't have a debit card.
Yeah. You probably have a bank card. You just use it as a credit card, and so it's just tied directly to the debit account. This one we have, it's a rewards card, but it's only tied to the debit card versus our other credit cards that are based on credit.
So what's the benefit of using a debit card?
My wife is a bookkeeper, so she likes to budget everything that way. Instead of credit, then she has to do some more research. So she can do it more as a line item. So
is there a benefit to use either one? If I had to choose one or the other.
Yeah. So if you're using a debit card, don't use your PIN number, because then it's zero liability for you. When you use your PIN number, it goes back to the last time you used your PIN number if there's any fraud. Credit cards are going to be more secure if you think you're going to be in a fraudulent situation. And then there's other scenarios where you can do more of a private network to use even another card number that's not your own.
Okay, now see, I told you we may vary questions. So you just mentioned something. It's on everybody's mind. It's in the paper. Fraud.
Yeah.
is that the biggest area of fraudulent activities on credit and debit cards?
Yep.
Is-
And that keeps driving up the cost that the merchants are paying that they're obviously passing down to the consumer. So fraud is very rampant. It's never slowed down. It gets more strategic and larger. There was a big breach just announced this week with a cash app type peer-to-peer payment, and with 8 million, I think it was, card numbers that were compromised or customers compromised. So all that expense raises the cost to everybody else, and it goes and goes and goes.
Do you have I think we all do this. You go to a restaurant. The waitress brings you your check. You look at your check, you lay your credit card down, she disappears with your credit card. We all do that.
Yep.
I've heard that you shouldn't. Well, how do you get around it? You pay cash or
Yeah, I've in some situation based on the point of sale, just because of my research, I will go up and do Samsung Pay or if you have Apple Pay at the point of sale system, because until we get rid of that magnetic stripe, there's a big exposure. That magnetic stripe is like a cassette tape technology.
Got all your information
literally
on it, right?
And they use the chip. They don't get the chip information because of the cryptogram, but they use the chip to get the magnetic stripe information, and they only have to get a Bluetooth device about a foot away to do so. And so until they get rid of the mag stripe, which you'll see more and more in the next 3 years, when it's just chip, then it is a concern.
Will they automatically change out our cards when it
Oh yeah,
occurs?
absolutely.
So you don't have to apply for a
No,
new one?
no,
Okay.
no,
So
they
they'll
don't want the
automatically
mag
send you a
stripe.
new one?
Yeah.
Okay. We're winding down.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is give you the opportunity to talk about something that I haven't covered that
Okay.
you want people to know.
Sure.
Or I know you got a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
and that's all right. You want to talk about your kids
Yeah.
and what they're doing, and whatever you think you'd like people to know.
Yep, I have 5 busy kids. My oldest is about to graduate from South Fork, and so we're getting all prepared for that, for prom and everything involved
boy.
with that. And then my second one is also in South Fork as a freshman, and then I have a triplet, 12-year-olds who are in 5th grade, but it's at home school, so we get to control that flow a little bit more. So we're busy all around around the county with silks and dance and ballet and everything imaginable, and just enjoy the Martin County life for that. For business, I travel all throughout the state and now adding North Carolina. And so I just support businesses on how to understand what they're paying, how they can really reduce costs, sometimes 50% or more, just by taking credit cards smarter. So that's what I enjoy doing. Yeah.
Well, there were just recently, within the last year or so, I don't know whether your territory changed or something changed, but you were able to spend more time at home. Is that a change in job description or territory?
It goes up and down. I have more control of my schedule. I'm actually working more upstream with larger size businesses, 20 million on up throughout the state, and so that's not as much in person.
That's not bad.
Yeah, up to 2 billion. So I'm able to be kind of work more in the area instead of always traveling to visit face to face, like in the more retail with the retail banking.
Great. Well, thanks for coming today. I
Thanks for having me.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks. Okay, Angel. We done?